And we are live on Discovery Paranormal. And what am I going to say to you tonight, I wonder? I don't know. I think we're going to talk a little bit about alien battles over Germany back in, oh man, back in the day. I think that, let's see, April 14th, 1561. So we're also going to talk about modern day aliens swarming aircraft carriers. And I'm going to finish up with a little bit of lucid dreaming and perhaps, if we have time, the universal law that aims time's arrow and trying to figure out. Because, you look out into space in any direction, you're looking back in time. And also, you would think at one direction you could look forward in time. Doesn't work like that. Why? We're going to discuss that too. So, starting off with aliens. I was talking to a couple of good friends of mine, and we're trying to get together for some type of meeting, type of trip. I'm trying to meet my Facebook friends before we all die. And it's kind of cool. You've been friends with people 8, 9, 10 years, talk to them every day. They know you, you know them. That's just, you've never seen each other face to face. So we're talking about getting together in Germany, and that's kind of in the middle of where we all live globally. And I'm like, there's a town called Nuremberg that I would love to explore, a city, and also the outskirts of the area. So apparently there was an alien battle over Nuremberg back in 1561. And a lot of people don't know about this. Okay, so let me read you the story. At daybreak on April 14th, 1561, residents of Nuremberg, Germany woke up to an alien aerial battle raging above their heads. The heavens were illuminated with bright lights that moved back and forth for hours before a huge black spear-shaped object appeared, blotting the sky. Finally, an enormous crash rattled across the city, signaling the end of the strange affair. The phenomena over Nuremberg have long been regarded as one of the most important recorded early UFO sightings, which is still regarded today by enthusiasts as proof of an extraterrestrial battle within the Earth's orbit. And by the way, and cut in here for a minute, this isn't the only time this has happened. Not long after that, another battle was over Switzerland, same type of thing. So modern skeptics and scientists have other views, but and I'll tell you what their views are, because I like playing both sides of the fence, man. If scientists are going to try to throw some cover on this, we should know what it is. They're saying it was a sun pillar and or sun spots is what people saw, which doesn't account for the ships fighting each other, crashing to the ground, smoke coming out of them, things like that. The big giant spear vessel showing up and other little ones going into it and taking off. Now, I have pictures of all kinds of sun phenomenon, because I had a perfect view of the West, and I had probably about an 80-mile view had back then. They actually had a version of a newspaper, and then this was accompanied by a stunning woodcut produced single-handedly by a local painter and illustrator, Hans Glasser. Okay, according to the report, townsfolk saw hundreds of glowing shapes within the early morning skies, including spheres, crosses, globes, moons, and tubes, each moving frenetically across the heavens. The dramatic report recounted a detailed and frightening shared version. So this is it. Between 4 and 5 a.m., civilians of Nuremberg were in the streets conducting their daily business. I would have slept through the whole thing, missing alien invasions as per usual. As the sun slowly rose to the blood red crescents grew at its center, while flanking on it at four sides were red and black balls in varying groups and permutations. These between these balls were a handful of red crosses and enormous slashes of bright red coloring, taking the shape of reeds. In short, the sky was busier than a taxi in New Year's Eve, right? This guy's trying to be funny. People who write things like this shouldn't try to be funny. If you're not funny, don't try to be funny because it just comes off as obnoxious. At once, this collage of shapes started fighting with one another, with the globes and rods flying across the sky in and out of the sun for about an hour. Eventually, the fighting became so ferocious that the alien shapes became so tired from their exertions that they fell to the earth in a mass of flames before burning up on land in a cloud of hellish smoke. Now, let me ask you, do you think a sun pillar could do that? Do you think sunspots? Anything? I mean, this isn't the sun, a little bits of the sun crashing to the earth. So how do you account for the smoke, the spheres, the crosses? And if you ever hear about any alien accounts, all these geometric shapes are present. The cones, the spheres, the cylinders, all that stuff is what people talk about, right? So this navigational spear aspect was the greatest interest to 16th century academics who saw the report as an untapped and unexplained sign from God. God did it. See, when people don't know, they say it's God or the devil. I mean, it's one or the other. That's all they got. Is people don't know. So, in the original news notice, an early form of newspaper, writer Hans Glasser interpreted this as one of many signs from God sent to encourage man to repent for his sins, which was promptly hated or dismissed by an increasing godless world. See? Much like today, You think that Nuremberg, Germany in 1561 was a godless world? The display was a reminder from the Almighty to repent, repent, repent. See? And that's all their religion is, man. Control. And be grateful for his mercy. But people weren't affected. People weren't beaten down. People weren't, if you're the guilty one, you put on a show. This is something you got to see. The whole thing doesn't make sense. In fact, it's unbelievably stupid. But it's all right. So when it comes to the meanings, but I mean, these people, this is 1561. These people are very simple, very low brow, and very simple. When it comes to the meanings of celestial wars, the theological reading appears to be in the perpetual state of anger and panic. As historically and artistically important as the events were of 1561, the beautifully illustrated report, especially in terms of burning crosses being a representation of God's anger, was undoubtedly exaggerated. As the story passed between onlookers and the literate who had not been present, the story snowballed and grew like a Lego set, adding more and more bits until what was once a pretty scene looked like the modernist carnage. Most contemporary scholars and skeptics believe that the report entirely fictional or misrepresented sun pillar, which is the phenomenon where two additional lights appear on either side of the sun, which doesn't account for, one, it was between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. Number two, it doesn't account for the smoke, the fire, the noise, the rumbling, the fighting that woke people up out of a deep sleep to see what the hell was going on in the sky. The whole town came out to look and what was going on now, and everyone had their different accounts. Some people were painters and they painted it. Some people did wood carvings and they carved it, whatever they could to recreate it. Obviously, it was big enough for them to recreate. So the story of the Nuremberg sighting spent centuries in relative obscurity, until psychologist Carl Jung published the 1958 book Flying Saucers, a modern myth of things seen in the sky. Jung's work explored the nature of supposed UFOs arguing that such sightings were a result of collective unconsciousness, most potent and prevalent of times of unease and upheaval, such as, the incident in the 16th century. So you're always going to have your naysayers, right? One thing happened for sure: the event, and every event is inevitable. After the event, if you don't have any scientific data to back it up, you just have to go by what people say and try to read between the lines of all of that. But to jump to conclusions saying it was sunspots, it was a sun pillar, and not saying it was an alien battle is excluding the fact that there are aliens, and they're all over the place. And this isn't the first time in history something like this has happened. This has happened multiple times throughout the centuries, right? So, Jung personally believed that the alien battle was a natural atmospheric phenomenon. Okay. After enjoying prosperity for centuries, being a safe haven for nobility and the wealthy following the Reformation, Nuremberg's fall from grace was sudden and severe. Refusing to financially support the prince's battle, the city was fully attacked, isolated, and its trade routes severed. Despite successfully fighting back, the costs incurred. Blah 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 blah. Who the hell cares? Okay. Similar events of those 1561 were reported several more times, with Nuremberg as their focus. In Nuremberg, the once wealthy were subjected to financial and physical hardships and whatever, and they are leading to the increased fear of God's punishment and the oncoming end of times. In places of immense upheaval, apocalyptic visions were similarly commonplace, right? And, as exciting as an alien battle sounds, these people were religious idiots. They didn't know how to put things in certain terms because they think they believe the story, right? It's like the people that walk around with the crystal skulls, for instance, right? And I've talked to these people who actually own some of them. They don't want to hear anything other than what they think. You can tell them, well, no crystal skull ever came about from an architectural dig, ever. They showed up in, these tchotchke stores in Mexico and in South America. Every street corner had one. Had a crystal skull from, found in the depths of the earth, right? That's people. And people are tourists in those places, and they get separated from their money. The only people that I know who bought riches overseas, and they have like this amazing stuff and whatever, and and they come back, and it's crap. It's crap. I had an antique store. I had people come in. I bought this. Oh, in South America, it's Precambrian art and whatever, and Colombian art, really? Or they have things that are dinosaur bones. Yeah, you might find that once in a while, but most of it's bullcrap. Most of it was just like the phenomenon of when VCRs were popular, and at one time they were like $400 or $500, $600 for a VCR, and there was dudes in the city with VCR boxes, and they would put rocks and crap in there to weight the box down, seal it up, stand in the street when people are going through traffic, and be like $50, $50, VCR, $50. People think that it's hot. They know the guy's not a registered dealer of Sony VCR or RCA. They think the guy just some crackhead walked into a store, boxed the thing, took it, and then here they are to sell it for you. These guys are giving $50. They go home, they open up the box, and they find wet newspaper in there or whatever it was to weigh it down, feeling like an idiot fool because they wanted to do something illegal. They got taken, right? So that happens. Gold jewelry. Oh yeah, the guy in the street going up and down with the gold chain looks nice. It's nice and heavy, but whatever. It's not gold. It'll say it's 14 karat gold. They buy those little tags all day long, put it on stuff. People are stupid, but Does that mean it wasn't an alien battle over Nuremberg? So I went on to Google Maps, and then I went and looked at Nuremberg. I zoomed out, I put the satellite on, and I was specifically looking for large areas of cleared land where if an alien ship that's full of radiation crashed, nothing's going to grow there, and most likely it'll still be radioactive to this day because that stuff doesn't go away in 4 or 5 or 600 years. In fact, most of that plutonium or even our radioactive materials have a half-life of 5,000 years. So that means it's full potent for 5,000 years and then starts to die down after that for the next 5,000 years, most likely getting down to zero, except we'll never know because we don't live that long, right? But I looked at the map and I did see areas that were where the forest was cleared. There was no homes there. It wasn't near any farms. It was dense vegetation. And sure, there's reasons why that could happen, but there's a few areas that I'd like to go and check out with some equipment just to see if I'm right, and love to hang out in Nuremberg anyway and check it out. So what do you guys think about all of this? And then the same thing happened over Switzerland not long later. It seems to me like there was people battling it out, right? So then Admiral Byrd, when he took his fleet down to the South Pole and wrote in his personal diary on how, they were attacked by little silver discs that came out of nowhere. He said that was the biggest danger to the United States. His airplanes went to attack. They flew into some kind of invisible barrier, exploding in the air. All the ships that he brought down there, many of them were completely destroyed. Does that sound like a day at the beach to you? Or does that sound like something was there that didn't want those guys to be part of it? So people will have told me, those were Nazis. Nazis. So Nazis had this unbelievable, incredible power. They were able to destroy anything. The little silver discs where the Nazis in them came out, and they blew everybody away. They had force fields and all that. Really? So why did they lose the war? Why were they crushed? Interesting. They ran out of fuel. They ran out of food. They were isolated. It was only a matter of time, So, but were those people in the South Pole Nazis? No, of course not. To think of, when people say certain things to me, I have to really behave myself. And depends what level I like them. I have to really behave myself to keep my mouth somewhat shut because I just don't believe it. You're like, really? And especially if you associate yourself with certain people who make just really outrageous claims. And the claims they're making all come from websites that are 100% USDA bullshit. Bullshit. Websites that just make it up as they go along. Like CNN, let's face it. CNN, MSNBC, they all do that too. But this is even worse, and I get frustrated when people say certain things that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Not ever, not ever. But you have to keep talking. So anyway, all right. How's this? You're going to like this. Images leaked from Pentagon investigation shows UFOs swarm above Navy destroyer. So, of course, there's a report coming out soon about UFOs. Pentagon report. Everybody's been talking about it for quite some time. They're getting people ready to handle some information, right? So this is modern day, not 1561. All right. Amazing images have been leaked from a secretive Pentagon investigation of UFOs. The task force has been gathering evidence for a comprehensive report for Congress Congress, which is due in June, that includes photographs and videos of UFO encounters with the U.S. military and their assets, including Navy destroyers off the southern coast of California, right? Part of the report is to educate other military and intelligent officials about the nature of UFO mystery. See, that's BS, because they would never release a report that's meant for these people to the public. It would be classified and you're not going to be able to see it. This report is made for you to understand we're dealing with something bigger. And I think that they have contacted us, and I think that there's something going on with this, right? And they're going to have a major announcement, and they're easing people into it, right? The new images were gathered by the task force and obtained by investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, whoever that is, who confirmed their authenticity. Mystery Wire, this is the paper, part of it, that I'm quoting, has independently confirmed that the visual material that's included in the briefing presentation that's prepared by the UAP task force. So some of it is stuff you've seen already, where they were chasing down these UFOs with their Navy ships, right? But some of it is not, and some of it's from the International Space Station as these UFOs fly past all day long like it's a highway. Shoot, they don't even try to hide it. They just go back and forth, back and forth. You know what I mean? So in one picture, the USS Omaha, well, three pictures here. The USS Omaha observed a possible UAS. That's the new word for a UFO, is a UAS, a spherical in nature, in shape, moving towards the surface of the water and then disappearing. OMA assessed the object had sunk. Attempts to search the water wreckage were ineffective. They've got these things, these craft, that when they go into the water, they don't even splash. They just bloop. They tracked one underwater going 500 knots, and then it really took off 500 knots underwater. And then boom, it took off. So here we go. Another one, USS Russell observed 3 UNKUAS, seemingly triangular in shape from the angle of observation, hovering approximately 700 feet over the RSL's fantail. 700 feet, not that far away. 2 of the UAS pictured are above, and I got these little pictures, which I can't share with you because I have no control over the StreamYard. So maybe one day, if I have control over the StreamYard, I could show you guys all kinds of pretty pictures. So one remarkable video was recorded in July of 2019 by naval officers using a night vision device showing what appears to be a pyramid-shaped object hovering 700 feet, again, over a naval destroyer. So you got to know that whoever's operating these craft, they know that these are military devices. They know that they have guns. They know that they have missiles, and they do all kinds of stuff. The fact that they're trying to make some kind of contact, or just saying we're here, or just showing that we're here and there's nothing you can do about it. There's a lot going on there, okay? So the video was taken on deployment from the USS Russell. It shows what describes to be as vehicles, and they made a great distinction. They made sure in this classified briefing, they made a distinction that this is not something that we own, either a black project. This is not something of a foreign military. And these were behaving in ways, if it was, they wouldn't be having the meeting. You wouldn't know about it. They wouldn't be talking about it, right? These are vessels that can go from 80,000 feet down to sea level in a matter of seconds, which is impossible in our physics and what we have, impossible. It has no heat signature, it makes no sonic boom when it takes off. So obviously it's technology well beyond anything humans can think of, right? But where was I? So it's not something from a foreign military, and these were behaving in ways that we did not expect, and that they were, shaped non-aerodynamically like pyramids, and these are flying pyramids. Pyramids. What else do we know about pyramids on this planet and the civilizations that form those pyramids, right? I mean, they don't even know anything about the pyramids, and some of them, how old they are and whatever, they don't even have a clue. The video is one of several forms. And by the way, you see cars on the road, all aerodynamic, and they all look like a pregnant roller skate. You know what? Ha 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 ha. People in UFOs don't care about that nonsense. I guess they're not looking for wind velocity, man. When you can go 80,000 feet down to sea level in 2 seconds. In 2 seconds. The video is one of several forms of visual evidence gathered by the UAP task force to document bizarre encounters reported by the U.S. Navy during the past 2 years, including photos of 3 stationary drones of unknown origin. Stationary drones of unknown origin. So, with me, this is the way I am. Okay. I'm the kind of person that thinks, okay, here you are. No matter if you're a human, no matter what kind of thing you are, even if you're a cat or a dog, you have to have some quality of life, something that you look forward to every day, something that you do, something that gives you that drive. I think that aliens are no different, and there's something about them. There's just so many things happening at once. I'm having a hard time with everything because the COVID, the vaccines, all this alien stuff, it's just very weird how things have come together. I'm not saying there's links. I'm just saying that there's a lot of information there to absorb. But when I hear people talking about simple things, crop circles, whatever, I kind of have a laugh over that, because I remember in Oprah Winfrey when the original guys who made the crop circle went on her show with the rope and the board and how they made their circles so perfect, and by using rope and a pole and then kind of going in a circle. So same for the Bigfoot guy, the one in Tennessee. There was many before him, but there's people who love to hoax things. You can't hoax an alien aircraft going from 80,000 feet down to sea level in 2 seconds. You can't hoax that. It's not a hoax. It's something that's very real and present. So the fact that there's a technology like that out there with creatures like that, and they haven't destroyed us yet because they think that we're so awesomely stupid and useless and, shouldn't be. More like humans are an infectious disease on the surface of the earth. No, we're here for a very specific purpose. And there's no doubt that they're part of us, that they've helped us grow and helped us understand. There still needs to be a big push to get people out of that primitive nature that makes us want to destroy what we don't understand. So this report's going to come out, and it's going to mean a lot to the UFO people. It'll mean nothing to other people, and maybe some people in the middle who are undecided will come forward and start admitting, like, wow, yeah, there's a bigger thing out there. The one thing that is a big danger, which I am told, is religion, because religion will fight very hard against any kind of aliens. I have a feeling it'll debunk all of their bunk, debunk their bunk, and then they'll lose, billions of dollars because people will walk away from these institutions that have worked so hard and so diligently to separate you from your neighbors and others, because that's what religion does. It separates people. It doesn't bring people together. Opposite religions separate. So how is that something that's from all loving God. If you think of the whole term of a creator, you wouldn't think that that creator wants people to be divided. So I think that once these technological things come forward, there's a lot of people who will be stuck in, let's face it, there's people who are stuck in stupidity. There's people who don't even believe COVID-19 is real. I hear it all the time from people out in the street, in the store. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And they're always like these I hate to generalize, but there are people who aren't very with it to understand that it's not a political issue, COVID-19. It's a health issue. And it's something that you don't want. Now COVID-19, the new one, this double mutation that's from India, is here in the U.S. It's in England. It's all over now. You can't stop things like that. We've been running, trying to play catch up with it. Now it's got a bunch of new symptoms. It's attacking your skin, lesions on your skin, even things like your mouth, dry mouth, that type of thing. Just interesting how skin is your biggest organ if you think about it, and now it's attacking that. I actually had one of my people on Facebook, like I posted an article about new symptoms from COVID, especially for diabetics, because there's swelling for diabetics and things like that. So new symptoms, right? And there's also something called long COVID that people will have for months and months and months, or will be in their DNA. They said it's bonding, they found it bonded. So there's a lot of that coming out, and we just, it's in the day. It's, nobody is an expert. It's day by day and trying to survive and play catch up with this horrible virus. But then the people out there, oh, I don't believe in it. It's stupid. And that not only how they don't believe in it, they have to share their opinion with you and let you know how dumb they are, just how dumb they are. And they can be sick. They can have it and be hacking. It's just the flu. People die from the flu every year. Oh, look at the people. Wow. And so in the end, you just have to walk away from those people because you can't teach them anything. Maybe you can educate some of the people some of the time, but some of them are so deluded and they just listen to these political leaders saying this crazy stuff. Trump, when it began, it was a hoax. COVID-19 was a Democrat hoax. Remember? That's what he said. Like, what an idiot. Really? But then he said, oh, but after it was killing everybody, I closed down the borders and they didn't even want me to, and which is true. Nancy Pelosi was against Trump, the whole China thing, and standing with the Chinese in Chinatown there over on the West Coast. It was politics. It wasn't health. It's politics. Well, it's about your health. So, and yeah, people should get the shot. I'm going to say that. They should get, because you have a better chance of beating any of these mutations with it than without it, And the way I'm seeing it and the new symptoms and all this new stuff that's happening, and if you don't think that this is the end, it's just not going to come out with a double mutation. It's going to be the end of it. This is just the beginning. So, all right. The universal law that makes that aims time's arrow. People always wonder about time because we never seem to have enough of it from our loved ones, from our lives, the hours in a day, sometimes the minutes in an hour. We just don't have enough time. So I am not going to read you all this article. See, these articles piss me off. It's written by Natalie Wolkover. Look at her smiling. She's got a big bubble head, really big smile. She's probably very nice. But she writes, this article. See, when I read an article, I want to know the facts. I don't want to read a novel. And these people write like they're writing a novel. So let me read this to you. Pour milk into coffee, and the eddies and the tendrils of white soon fade to brown. In half an hour, the drink cools to room temperature. Left for days, the liquid evaporates. After centuries, the cup will disintegrate, and billions of years later, the entire planet, sun, and solar system will disperse. Throughout the universe, all matter and energy is diffusing out of hot spots like coffee and stars. You see, already I would stop reading. I wouldn't even gotten it past the drink cools the room temperature. I wouldn't even gotten past the second sentence until I say, all right, I can't get anything from this. But you just have to kind of scroll ahead, you know? So I'll get to the scientific part that she quoted scientists because that's the only time you're going to learn anything. All right. This gradual spreading of matter and energy called thermalization aims the arrow of time. But the fact that time's arrow is irreversible, so that, and that hasn't been proven, there is no mathematical barriers to going back or forward in time. I will say that. And I'm a math person. So let's see. Time's reversible. That hot coffee cools down. Let's go back to the hot coffee again. Thermalization is a statistical outcome. The coffee's heat is far more likely to spread into the air than the cold air molecules are to concentrate energy into the coffee. Oh, back to the coffee again. I can't do it. While it's easy to see where thermalization leads, she must really love her coffee. It's less obvious how the process begins. If you start far from the equilibrium, like in the early universe, how does the arrow of time emerge? Starting from the first principles. So Jürgen Burgess, the theoretical physicist at Heidelberg's University in Germany, the guy actually does all this work, and he probably drinks tea or beer. Actually, he's in Germany. Warm beer at that. Yeah, he looks like a warm beer drinker, definitely. Over the last few years, Burgess and a network of colleagues have uncovered a surprising answer. The researchers have discovered simple so-called universal laws governing the initial stages of change in a variety of systems consisting of many particles that are far from thermal equilibrium. They're far from the thermal equilibrium. Their calculations indicate that these systems examples include the hottest plasma ever produced on Earth and the coldest gas, perhaps also the field of energy that theoretically filled the universe in its first split second, begin to evolve in a time in a way described by the same handful of universal numbers, no matter what the numbers consist of. See, now, and I'm going to add this in there. These people don't know anything, and their theories are all based on things that they know. But we're talking about things that you don't know. You know, you can't compare when you're looking at a whole different reality and you're using your own to compare. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's like going into a ghetto and thinking that it's your own, the neighborhood. You know all the streets and you know all the people. You know everything. It could be. It doesn't have to be a ghetto. But I used to hang out in ghettos, man. It's ghettos is like the last free area in this world. I hate to say, it may sound weird. We'll have to discuss it one day, but I could definitely explain to you why. All right. So the findings suggest that the initial stages of thermalization play out in a way that's very different from what comes later. In particular, far from the equilibrium systems exhibit fractal-like behavior, which means they look very much the same at different spatial and temporal scales. Their properties are shifted only by a so-called scaling exponent, and scientists are discovering that these exponents often are simple numbers like 1/2 fractions, negative 1/3, for example. Particles at speeds at 1 instant can be rescaled according to a scaling exponent to give the distribution of speed anytime, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to say this. This is the problem with all these people. And I'm going to say all of them. Theoretical physicists. They need to go out and raise grant money. And they need to have a reason why. They're studying the arrow of time. But yet, if you don't include quantum physics and you don't include other types of physics, a higher level of our macro world, which I call mega physics. So you have the micro, you have the macro, you have the mega, and all these situations, the physics, the system of physics works exactly the opposite of all the rest. When it comes to that, that throws your theories off. If you're trying to compare off of what you know and what you've learned off of this planet by itself, this planet by no means represents the universe. It's just a little bubble, a little tiny blue dot compared to everything else going on. You don't know what's going on out there because you're not there to study what's going on, and you don't have the lifespan to see what's going on, to understand it. So then you have to rely on some warm beer drinking German guy, you know, who's going to tell you about his theories. I got great theories, man. Back in the day, we all used to hang out and just talk about this stuff all night long. Theories of the universe and why things work. Then there's dark matter, matter, antimatter. I mean, there's so much that you have to also put in, and your thermalization may not hold true in other areas in the universe, but is there time in those places, or does time just exist for us here? That remains to be seen. For the spinning of the earth, for the gravity that we have. I mean, time and gravity, can impact one another. Einstein proved that, right? And same as speed. So here we go. Burgess is widely seen as a leading in theoretical effort with a series of seminal papers since 2008. Let's see, the physics of universal scaling. He and a co-author took another step this spring in a paper called Physical Review Letters, then explored pre-scaling. So, okay, what does that mean to you? Probably nothing. Probably nothing. Let's just say energy cascades. While Burgess began studying far from the equilibrium dynamics, he wanted to understand the extreme conditions at the beginning of the universe when the particles that now populate the cosmos originated. So let's talk about the Big Bang. Right? Boom! Big Bang happens. Here comes a shockwave. From the days of that explosion to the days after, how many days at the center of the Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop do you think it's up to? Because the further you go out, the more the days turn into eons or millions of years. But yet at the center, it could only be on its second, third day, sixth day, which is really interesting, because we're talking about distance and time and timelines and the rule of time, right? And if time just exists for us, then how do you know that time exists? And the laws of time exist for those other individuals or any other place in the universe. You don't. The only thing you could do is study things. On a recent show, I kind of talked about if you were, let's say you're 2,000 light years away, which means it would take 2,000 light years to get to that place. 2,000 years of light speed to get to that place, which is pretty intense, right? So if you were to see, let's say someone's 2,000 light years away and they're looking at the Earth. They have some massive telescope that they can look out and see the Earth perfectly, right? But they're seeing the Earth 2,000 years ago from their perspective. They're not seeing us now. They're seeing Jesus walk around or whomever. Whatever's going on back then is what they're seeing, right? And the same for us, for them. When they say we've gotten these signals from space, all these signals, how do you know those signals aren't millions and millions and millions of years old? And they're not even meant for us, and that civilization completely gone. Some of the planets out there that we look at could be gone. We would never know. We wouldn't know until that light gets to us. So there's a lot of not knowing. When I was driving across the country, man, that's the best time to think about this stuff, right? Einstein, he got his theory of relativity idea riding a bus, a Greyhound bus. He imagined the bus going the speed of light, and he came up with a supposition that anything that gets to the speed of light would stop because it's a barrier that you can't go past the speed of light, that you wouldn't be able to burn any fuel that could get you past the speed of light. Already they're talking about warp drives. I have plenty of articles that we could discuss about warp drives and how they're making these warp drives. But I think the only way to travel through a magnetic universe is through a magnetic door, which is quantum physics, moving from one place to the other instantaneously without no fuss, no muss. And now they're starting to transfer larger things in these little tiny particles through quantum physics from, one place to the other, 150 miles instantaneously. They've divided particles, and then kept a sister particle in one place and put the brother particle in the other place. And then they turn in the opposite direction when they turn the particles. They are connected. They're connected hundreds of miles away. It's a doorway. And it's a hallway. It's a connection. And we're just humans right now trying to figure this out. You can see, if you look forward, using this technology, what it could be turned into, right? So just that there. So, all right, I'm not going to read the rest of this because I just kind of wanted to get into it. The coffee thing messed me up. It really did. Now I want coffee, and I want coffee and look at the stars. How dare they? How dare they? You're going to write an article about science and then get everybody in the coffee house. She's probably in a coffee house, right? Can you see that this woman in the coffee house, like, writing the article? So anyway, let's just get into lucid dreaming really quick. I wanted, because someone just asked me the other day about becoming lucid, right? We have a few minutes left. So various techniques, lucid dreaming, being able to communicate, travel. There's all kinds of things you can get out of lucid dreaming. So various techniques have been deployed and developed and tested to induce lucid dreaming in recent years, but as none yet are that reliable and consistently successful across all individuals. That's not to say that they won't work on you. While research in this area is in its infancy, some techniques already hold real promise. So let's do it. Let's just talk about a couple, man. How about, I don't know. Let's see. I think probably, me personally, I'm going to tell people to, like lucid dreaming, when you go to sleep, that twilight part of your sleep where you're kind of in that mix. There's things that you can do within there. You can also ask questions or have people come forward to you, that type of thing. So cognitive techniques are activities that are performed during the day or while falling asleep. Thus far, this type of approach has been most successful at inducing lucid dreams. According to a recent study of 169 Australian participants, a combination of three techniques induce lucid dreaming most successfully: reality testing, mnemonic induction, lucid dreaming as a wake back to bed type of thing. And reality testing, the reality testing method involves habitually asking your waking self whether you're dreaming and performing an action that helps you find out. The popular film Inception references this technique with a spinning top that would normally eventually stop rotating, but continues eternally when dreaming. So if you don't fancy keeping a spinning top in your pocket while you're sleeping, you can hold your nose and do whatever, and raise your arm and that type of thing, or just smack yourself in the face. Why not? Right? And the mnemonic induction lucid dreaming, called mild, MILD technique, one rehearses a dream and visualizes becoming lucid while repeating a mantra expression at the same intention, such as, next time I'm dreaming, I want to remember that I am dreaming. For the best results, it should be performed while returning to slumber, basically wake back to bed, that type of thing, whereby one sets their alarm clock 1 or 2 hours before their normal waking time, gets up for a few minutes and goes back. This brief awakening is thought to increase that cortical activity in the key brain areas implicated in lucid dreaming. When one slips back, that rapid eye movement, the REM sleep, you know what I mean? And the stage which the whole vivid dreaming occurs. Unsurprisingly, pressing the snooze button multiple times before finally waking also appears to increase the chances of lucid dreaming. So, of course, these strategies require sustained effort and to have an effect. In search of easier route of lucid dreaming, various wearable technology companies have developed contraptions that flash light, vibrate, play sounds during REM sleep. And I'll tell you something creepy. I just told this to one of my family members. Commercials have these pulses of light that shouldn't exist. And when you're laying in bed and your TV is still on and your eyes are closed, these pulses of light like almost communicate with your brain. It's very weird, man. I'm studying this, all right? It's something I'm studying to see what the deal is. And I would really like to know if they are just playing more shenanigans to get you to buy stuff, that type of thing, pre-programming your brain. I used to fall asleep during like infomercials, or I'd fall asleep for a show and wake up during an infomercial. Oh my God. Horrible, horrible. Sometimes I just wake up wanting to buy stuff. Like, I got to buy it now. If I buy it now, I get another one. Buy one, get one. People are like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't know. Some stuff I need. A pasta maker. Anyway, that's that for that. I'm going to end the show here. This is Michael Angley on Discovery Paranormal, or whatever I'm calling it now. It's always Discovery Paranormal. So, but it's also the Paranormal News. I will see you guys next week on this show. United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.5 neurons, 104.5, $25. 25, 25, right here, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 35, 40, 40, sold for $42.95.